Okay, so and in the assignment we have got here, you need to choose a reading you think will interest your learners. In the assignment, you need to find out a reading that is very interesting for your learners, and you need to pay attention their, how to say, what they know. For example, do they know reading about, for example, how to say, some fairy tales, if the students have got like A1 level, yes? That's why you need to pay attention their levels, and then you need to choose one reading. It can be a passage, it can be like, how to say, one big novel maybe, or it can be just one small extract from fairy tale, yes? So you need to pay attention this first of all. And then when you are writing your assignment, you need to put their age, their proficiency, and the title of the reading, and discuss why you think this reading would be appropriate for your learners. So as for me, I chose from detective. It's not so detective, but it is like everyone knows about it. It is about James Bond. It is a novel by Ian Fleming. It was part of the novel, Dr. No, so I chose that one because my learners are advanced learners and their age is at 22 or 20, more than 20, like, that's why I chose that one. So why I thought that it was appropriate, because at this age, many students or many people like such kind of like detectives or like spy things, yes, spy. For example, girls also like to see how James Bond do the things that he's doing in the novel. That's why I chose that one. But you can choose anything that you want, but keep in mind that their level should suit to these readings that you chose. And then in the week 2, they are talking about intensive reading techniques. So can I ask a question? What is intensive reading, dear participants?
Intensive reading is when a teacher gives students the tasks and the students read them. So intensive reading is what is scheduled beforehand, I think.
What's the difference between extensive reading?
Intensive and extensive. So extensive is students choose themselves by themselves what they want. Mm-hmm. And it is not what was programmed or planned by the teacher.
Okay.
My understanding.
Okay, anyone else, please?
Yeah, I just wanted to add something.
Okay.
Hi, Aziza, thank you for your time. I think that intensive reading is like last longer rather than extensive reading, because in intensive reading you just you are given some time to read, and then they have to read for a long time, then they have to discuss. Only students who are really eager to read, they can achieve in this intensive reading, they can achieve their goals. While if there are some students who doesn't have any interest to the reading, there will be some troubles to work on intensive reading. So extensive reading is like much more in detail, like we have learned, I couldn't remember the name, 2 terms, like one of them is like so in detail, you just analyze part of speech and then you work on different paragraphs. You just pick out the paragraphs and you have to work on them, while you just read a whole book in the exact time that is given by teacher. It's called intensive reading, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, okay, good. Anyone else, please? I meant. So we are just 5, yes? 2 already answered, okay. So in intensive reading, yes, you are right. So we, for example, pay attention to small details. For example, we ask them to discuss a part of speech there, or just we want them to pay attention the vocabulary maybe or the anything that very in small detail. But in extensive reading, yeah, we may give them like maybe novels. Maybe we can ask them just read anything that you want and bring that thing. For example, we can ask them who can read more, or we can just have some reading corner in our classroom, so that for example, when students read something, extensive reading, yeah, so then they can bring some outlines of this novel, or they can bring that reading block of this novel. We can put there, and we can show the other students how extensive reading is very helpful, because intensive reading is very helpful when we do it with our group mates, with our teacher. But if we, for example, do extensive reading, it may again help and may strengthen that skills more. So yeah, in this second week, they mostly talk about intensive reading, extensive reading, how you can, for example, strengthen them, or the techniques and so forth. That's why I just put it very short. And assignment here, you need to create a lesson plan this time according to the reading that you chose in the first week assignment. So you need to demonstrate both intensive and extensive reading techniques. So if you see there, you can see techniques, you can see some activities there. So that's why I didn't cover here. Your lesson plan should be between 50 to 60 minute lesson plan for reading. So but make sure that you need to save all of this, because they ask you in capstone project 2, they ask you the lesson plan and plus video of this lesson plan. And third week, they covered about writing. So, so what do you think about writing, dear participants? How can we, how to say, help our students to broaden their writing, or to like make their writing more strong? Because many of us, even I can say, have some difficulty in doing writing. Why is it so? Is it because of our L1, or what can you say about it?
I think to develop our writing, we should read more. Read the level which is higher than ours.
How much higher it should be?
1+.
1+, yeah.
Or 2+ at least is also okay, because it's difficult to find out materials that will fit, or that will be 1+. Instead, we can just find any material and look at the genre, pay attention to the to some vocabulary and give to our students. And it's not important to understand everything in the reading passage. So they can understand. It's not necessary to know every single word, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
how do you do in your classroom? How do you incorporate writing?
So actually, first I introduce the structure, explain the structure. I'm teaching IELTS these days. So after explaining structure, I usually give them some other samples on different topics to develop their vocabulary, to develop their understanding of the topic, to broaden their view.
Do you give this at home, or just you do together with them?
No, I usually give them as a home task. I assign tasks for home.
Okay.
Home reading, home writing.
Do you, for example, write even just one paragraph with them in the classroom?
I observed teachers writing a paragraph, but I didn't practice it myself.
Okay.
Usually my students write at home. Yeah.
Okay, good. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to add something? So as you can see here, it's written that good writing is good reading. Yes, that's correct. So if you want to write good, then you need to read more and more, but not anything. Yeah, you can read something that interests you. For example, if you read something that doesn't interest you, then you may get bored, or you can just feel very tired after reading these things. So yeah, good writing is good thinking as well. Yeah. Sometimes some teachers or some mentors say that we need to think in language, target language that we want to write. Yeah. For example, if we're, for example, learning English, then we need to think English. Yeah, sometimes I try, but after like 10, 20 minutes, I forget that I need to think in English. And again, I go on thinking with my L1. That's why good writing is good thinking. We need to think more in target language. And the last one is good writing is good speaking. Yeah, when you can, for example, we can write good, then we can speak good. I can say it from, for example, IELTS results. Yeah, sometimes some students, they have got very, very good results in listening and reading. They have got 7.5 or 8, 8.5 and so on. But when it comes to writing and speaking, it may be 6 or 6.5. That's why these two skills, which are writing and speaking, are the most difficult for many of us. Maybe some people have achieved this top level in writing and speaking, but not everyone. That's why we need to pay attention these two skills more than I mean, we need to pay attention all the skills, but these two skills are more important, because it is like, how to say, these skills help them in, for example, in exams, in some cases. For example, sometimes in our real life, in authentic life, maybe we don't use reading when we are talking with someone. Perhaps we can use them, because if we read more, we have got good world knowledge. We can communicate very like appropriately, but at the same time we speak with them. So speaking, that's why, has got very big power in communicating with people in authentic real life. Okay, so in this week, it was week 3, yes, week 3, I didn't cover everything again, just it was about writing. So here they ask you to add in your lesson plan. So you need to edit it. So you had already one lesson plan about reading, yes? You already choose about your passage. So you have your lesson plan, and now what you need to do is you need to edit writing. So you can add this pre-writing activity, writing, and post-writing activity related to your reading. So it can be like directly related or indirectly as well, but anyway, it should be related, not something like something different from reading. So you need to edit and save it for later, and you don't need to create a new lesson plan, which is very important here. So you just take your lesson plan, you just copy it again, and you just make it different with writing. And I think it should be week 4. Okay, they talk here about 6 traits of writing, and they said that in writing it's very important that we need to organize our ideas in an appropriate way. So first of all, when we write, we need to have ideas. Yes, even IELTS, how to say, tutors, I say that before writing, you need just keep your writing. Before writing, you need just organize it. What you will write there, what you're going to write, or what you are not going to add there. Yes, that's why we need to think first of all about ideas, how you do it. For example, it's very important that you just don't give them, for example, writing, and then you need to say, for example, okay, students, just think and write. No, it's very important that you need to say them to trigger their ideas. So you give this writing, first of all, like speaking. First of all, you ask them, let's talk about globalization, for example. So if you just give them, write down about globalization, it may be very difficult for them. That's why you just give them chance to speak. When they speak, they know what to write then, yeah? So then you ask them how to organize. For example, as we know, the writing, for example, essay has got introduction, body, and conclusion, yeah? You will say them. And voice, it means, voice it's not like from grammar, but it is your audience, who will read this and who is writing this. It is very important that they should know, for example, who is reading the writing that they are doing. And then you will, how to say, teach them word choice, yeah? What kind of words they can use in their writing. And you know about sentence fluency, and convention means what kind of rules are there in your writing. For example, should they use, for example, if they are writing on Microsoft Word, should they use 14 times New Roman or as a convention, yeah? It's very important that they should know about it. And then again, we have here assignment for week 4. So in the week 4, they ask you to add some techniques and strategies discussed in this model about like brainstorming and mind mapping. So what is brainstorming, dear participants? Brainstorming in the writing, what is it?
So brainstorming is just collecting main ideas, like about the specific topic that's chosen by students or by the teacher. You just brainstorm what is your brief ideas about this topic, what comes to your mind, and then you just write on the blackboard together with the teacher, or they can do by themselves. I mean, the students, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, what is your, how to say, let's say, what is your reading activity you are doing now in your assignment?
I chose the Skylight Room by O. Henry.
Okay.
It is a short story, but the level of the students are advanced because it's somehow they have difficult words and then advanced level vocabularies. So I choose Skylight Room, and now I have finished this reading lesson plan, but I tried to include all the reading techniques rather than writing. That's why I tried to keep myself including the writing skills.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, in this assignment, they ask you to add some writing techniques and strategies. For example, mind mapping. Who knows about this mind mapping? What is it? Any ideas, please?
Mind mapping is structuring what you know about a topic. So it can be in the form of a cluster or fish shape, or in any different shape student prefers. Yeah.
Any ideas, please? Yeah, mind mapping can be this, and can be also like, for example, especially in writing or in vocabulary, you need to associate the word with something, with some image, some physical image, so that they understand and they like remember this word afterwards. For example, there is one video about mind mapping they put there. It's very interesting, TED Talk. So you can watch it. They gave you already the link, so you can watch it and you can know what is mind mapping more in detail. So yeah, let's go on with next week. Week 5. In week 5, they ask you integrate grammar into your reading and writing, and there are so many questions that comes about grammar, because sometimes we as a teacher may use grammar separately, or maybe we use in the lesson, or maybe we don't use at all. So there may be some question, for example, should I teach grammar structures in a certain order? Or what if I have to follow a certain curriculum or textbook sequence, for example? Should I bring something new that is not in the curriculum, or should I just keep like certainly with curriculum? Or why won't my students use grammar form I taught them last year, last week, or even yesterday? Or how am I supposed to it should be two, yeah? To incorporate grammar into my lesson plans? So, and why do I even have to have grammar? And why won't my students just pick it up through using the language naturally? So you see, when we are incorporating grammar into our lesson, these kind of questions may appear. So how can you answer this question, dear participants, if someone asks you, for example, how can you incorporate grammar into your lesson plan?
We can incorporate grammar by teaching them. So while teaching reading, writing, speaking, listening, so it's going to be integrated, I think.
Do you do it like every lesson, or just after some
Usually,
lessons?
usually when I aim at teaching reading, if there is a case, if there is an instance where I have like a new grammar, where my students have new grammar point, so I try to explain them, but or when they do some grammar mistakes when speaking, after they're speaking, I can just explain them that grammar structure or so on.
So do you, for example, bring just one grammar rule in your classroom in any topic, or do you think it should be related?
Sometimes it is related when when the goal of my lesson is to teach grammar, it is related to it can be related. I can bring a passage, use a passage where this grammar is, we can have this grammar structure several times in this passage. Or sometimes, as I said, when my students are interested in some structures they're not familiar with, I just stop and explain them.
Okay. I understand. So, thank you. Any other ideas about incorporating grammar in your lesson plan? in your lesson? Silent Hill, yes? Okay. So yeah, you know about grammar already. So we had very huge years of grammar translation method, yeah, especially our generation had. So we know what is grammar and how we can incorporate them. And also I made it very short because today we have very long presentation anyway. So as in assignments, they ask you incorporate a brief grammar moment or discussion in your lesson plan. So as I said before, my lesson plan was about James Bond, Ian Fleming's novel. So I guess I put there grammar moments. So it was about, if I'm not mistaken, it was about what it was about. Well, I need to see it. I guess it was about would you like something like this structure? It was, I think. So yeah, it's very important that you need to pick something which is a little bit at least related to your topic when you're adding these grammar moments in your lesson plan. So you see, you just in this course, you just need one lesson plan and then you edit all the time. You edit with writing, you edit with grammar, and you edit with punctuation, I mean pronunciation, yeah? So here they ask you to do micro lesson. So you have already your lesson plan with writing and grammar. So what you need to do, you need to pick up very like excited moment, or let's say the moment that you like. For example, don't pick up the moment that you don't like or you don't want to teach that moment, yeah? Especially in micro lesson. Most of the time I took from the first like lesson, beginning of the lesson, for example, warm up and some instruct and model and just one guided practice. That's why just pick up the very moment that you want to showcase what can you do as a teacher. So anyone here already did lesson, micro lesson, like 6-10 minutes video, and what's your experience about it? How you did that video? Can you share your experience? Okay, Dilfuza is writing no. Who else? Gulchehra, what about you?
Sorry, I couldn't catch the question.
I mean, have you done any micro lesson already or not yet?
Yeah, in the capstone first I did, but not in this one.
How you did it? Can you share your experience?
Oh yeah, I don't have any class to teach. That's why I try to do it at home, and I talk to myself. As you, I also took my warm-up activity.
Okay, so
yeah.
So you recorded just your whole body, I mean, or you just recorded as a presentation, like on the right?
No, I record myself.
Okay.
I was standing next to my TV, and I show the pictures on TV because you can just put the flashcard to my TV, and then I just showed it. And then I asked my husband to take my video, and we did it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it a bit of, have you been embarrassed or just feel some shyness in front of your husband, or it was okay?
No, it was, before he came, I practiced a lot. I had lots of embarrassment, but when he took, for the first shot, we did it.
Oh, okay. Good job.
Yeah, I think you gave me much energy.
I see. So we recommend people to record with their partners, yeah? Okay, good.
Yep.
Yeah, with this, we already finished our reading course. So now, we will talk about course number 6, Teach English Now, second language listening, speaking, and pronunciation. So, yeah. So in this course, you will learn about challenges of teaching and learning listening and speaking, such as paralinguistic performance variables, reduced and regional forms, and different types of oral discourse. So yeah, let's see them one by one. Okay. So what is paralinguistics? Any ideas, please? Okay, let me change the question. What makes listening hard according to you? No any ideas? Okay, so
Can we give some ideas of our students from the point of our students?
Yeah, go on, please.
So if we speak about paralinguistic aspects, we can speak about our students' difficulties. They can include different level students because we cannot unite all the students of the same listening level in one group. And mostly we have different level students and the listening skills are different. That's why perceptive skills like listening, they really they acquire a lot of practice. And if, for example, they have a lack of practice of listening, and another problem for our Uzbek, let's say, speaking people, and not only Uzbek, Russian, Tajik speaking students.
Yeah.
So it's a big problem because we don't have any native speakers for them to listen to them, and we don't have the atmosphere of language where they can just feel themselves more comfortable by acquisition of a language and by understanding it better.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. And any ideas about what makes listening hard? What do you think?
As activities for them to improve their listening. You mean what ideas I suggest for teaching listening better? Okay. So there are different methods actually, but I can just name some of them. You can use, it depends actually on the level of the learners, and it depends on the age of the learners. If we speak about young learners and very young learners, you can use some songs in teaching English, some chants, because some poems, because they help them to develop their listening skills, and there is natural repetition in the songs, for example, in the chants. When the learners can listen to repeated phrases and remember them better, as well as teenage learners and adult learners. So singing some songs with adult learners, it's a little bit difficult. Why? Because nowadays, it's too difficult to find the appropriate songs for singing, because what kind of songs they are singing right now, with some bad words and some not appropriate vocabulary. So that's why it's another conversation. But anyway, if you try, you can find some classical songs, or not classical, but some kind of hits which live forever, let's say, and you can adapt some activities and you can use them for listening as well. Another advantage for adult learners and for advanced learners, I would say, even not advanced. So for pre-intermediate level, for intermediate level students, you can use some videos. And this also helps to develop your listening skills. So that's why I think that these are two main and the most important things, because not only teachers speaking must be listened by the learners, but natural listening by native speakers is very important, because they can get used to our speech. And then in the future, we need them to become independent learners. And if we want to develop these qualities in our students, we have to help them to understand not only our speech, not only our, I don't know, American or British or Uzbek type of pronunciation or Russian type of pronunciation. They must be ready for different type of speech. I mean, they must be able to understand Australian English, Canadian English, even Indian English, let's say. That's why I think that films can help, maybe not the full film, just some short videos we can choose. We can find a lot of materials actually in the internet, short videos and any kind of episodes of the films, let's say, and songs. They can really enhance our learners' listening skills.
Yeah, thank you, dear Areva. I agree with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, as you see here, these 9 things can make listening hard. So in TESOL course, they explained everything about, for example, paralinguistics, performance variables. But if I put it short, I can say paralinguistics can be everything outside what we normally think as language. For example, it can be unusual, accent, gesture, stress, tone, volume, anything it can be as a paralinguistic. And what about performance variables? It can be, for example, fillers. Some in our listening, the speakers use different kind of fillers, repairs. They can say, I mean by this, or they can change what they are saying, especially in the IELTS listening. You can hear some fillers that they change their answer. That's why it's very important that we should know and we should pay attention performance variables and types of oral discourse means, for example, is it like monologue, for example, the person just talking by itself, by himself or herself, or is it presentation, is it lecture, dialogue? So we need to also know about types of oral discourse that are making our listening very hard. And slang and colloquialism, also very important thing here. So they can be different slangs, or they can use different kind of idioms, that make our listening very hard. And morphological reduction, for example, can be contraction. For example, instead of I will not, we can say I won't. And some students, or for example, if they have got, for example, at school, they can understand it, I won't, like differently, yes? I want something, yeah? Not I will not. That's why morphological
but there
reduction.
is difference in pronunciation.
Okay.
There is difference in pronunciation. If you say I want, it has the pronunciation
Want.
as I want, yes. And if you say will not in the short form, it will be I won't. So that's why it depends on the type of a word you want to say. That's why pronunciation is different. Yes, some teachers, they misspell this, but I won't is I will not, and I want has such meaning. Again, there are some peculiarities. For example, I work, like I do some job, and I walk is like I usually go for a walk. So that's why there must be some peculiarities and misspell. Like a lot of teachers have misunderstanding with this and this, as they say, pronouncing sound z instead of the. So that's why it's pronunciation mistake of a teacher, actually. That's why listening of a native speaker helps actually for even teachers, not only for the learners.
Yeah, that's why, as for me, I also sometimes have difficulty in saying, for example, this th. Yeah, it's like I can say, but it sometimes I feel some embarrassed. I don't know, shy to say this like as native speaker does.
But it's okay. I think that we can practice it, and even sometimes our students can have better pronunciation than we do. But it depends on the practice, I think. The more we practice, the better our pronunciation will become. The same with the learners, and they have to listen more. That's why I think that that's why it is called listening. So they while listening, while perception, and when they perceive some information, when they produce the speech, so every time step by step it will be better and better. So that's why I think that there mustn't be any embarrassment, because when we had a training with one of American teacher trainers, there was a question, what kind of pronunciation we should teach our learners, like should we teach, it was kind of provocative question actually, because teachers, I mean our Uzbek teachers, they were from different regions, they asked such question like, do you want us to teach American English or British English? And it was such kind of provocative question, and everybody expected that as she's an American teacher trainer, she will say American, but she didn't say like this, and everybody was surprised because they said, should we teach our students can't or can't? So, and everybody expected that she is going to say can't instead of can't, but she said that you have to teach so the language and the differences. For example, it's your responsibility to explain learners how to say this in, let's say, British and in American English, but they are to choose. Of course, for example, if we teach the learners and they chose for themselves to go to the USA, for example, in the future, they can have American pronunciation. And if we teach them and they are going to study in Great Britain, for example, in the future, they can have British pronunciation. But our task is to explain and to give them, let it be, two variants how to pronounce, and they are to choose. So especially for adult learners. For kids, yes, we can just tell them you must say like this and so on. But anyway, we don't want them to be not thinking students. We want them to have thinking skills, because we are not only just models, but we usually show good example for our learners. So that's why, of course, as for me, I can tell you that as I have more American English, so my learners will usually adapt this, and they have also American pronunciation, but again, it depends. Sometimes I explain that it must be like this in British English, sometimes they choose British variant, so that's why it depends on the learners also.
Okay, thank you very much. And Munawar is also writing here, limiting time and fast speech can make the listening hard, hard also. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true. And yeah, pragmatic reduction, maybe it is like leaving out information that already understood, especially in the listening. They may say, for example, movie, my place tonight at 8. So, and bring popcorn. So it's very like short. So they're leaving out some information that maybe they already talk beforehand. So that's why pragmatic reduction, we should also know what is it. And ellipsis, it is like leaving out a phrase in the middle of two thoughts. But only when you know it only if you have got the information that already talked beforehand. Yeah. Can anyone give me any example about ellipsis? Because I can't remember now any example. So, okay, so I again here wrote about performance variables. We already talked about it, and regionalism. So regionalism means.
Do you mean ellipsis in the sentence?
Yeah, please, yeah. Yeah, once you are looking for.
When we leave out some words from the sentence, I think it was considered ellipsis. For example, rather than saying that, sometimes we drop. For example, like, I think I have met her. We can add that, or we can just leave out. So I do remember these samples from our Lex linguistic class. I think we have to leave out some words.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Once, if you are searching for, yeah, you can search for any more, how to say, examples. Yeah, you can.
Examples of ellipsis.
Yeah. Can you give any example? For example, Gulchera, you said, yeah, about
I
that.
will try. There is very poor connection, but I wanted to give.
Yeah, I cannot hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, please.
I just wanted to say that ellipsis can be used, it depends on the speech, and it can be used in some conversation, for example. And usually, so it helps to show some emotional effect and for people to guess. And it is used like emphasizing something. So if you emit some idea and it shows the emotional effect as well. It can be used in some dialogue and some just short conversation, or even in the long one, when you put just dots, and instead of dots you mean something like emotional, when you want to pay attention of the listener to this. So if you are not so sure about something, like for example, you told me, can you give me an example of ellipsis? So, and I say, so it's like I am thinking, and this is the process of my thinking, and I say, and so
Okay.
that I'm thinking about it, and I'm just thinking about the sentence to give you as an example. So that's why in the real speech, so they can be used like this. So.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. And the last one is regionalism. It is like a kind of slangs that are common to particular regions. So as you said, for example, American English can be different from British English or Australian English, yeah. And also in one country, there may be different slang as well. For example, in Great Britain, they have got different slangs. For example, they have got, for example, in the
and some others.
Yeah, in the north of London, they speak different than in the east of London. You know, even in London, they have got different slang.
Words, especially now with Indian people living in the UK, which is completely different. So that's why.
Yeah, but people who live in north, their speech is much more difficult to understand. Even.
Yeah, because it's mixed with Scottish, and so that's why Welsh changes the language, and there are some peculiarities. Even here in Uzbekistan, some people speak Uzbek, so like people in Fergana, for example, somebody speaks it like in Tashkent, so they are people from the capital, and they have a little bit different Uzbek, so that's why it's the same everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, yeah, we have got here assignment of they're asking you to choose audio or video clip that will interest your learners. It can be like from 5 to 10 minutes long. So you need to find out, for example, you can take from TED Talks. As for me, in my lesson plan, I took from TED Talk. Or you can take anything from YouTube which may interest your learners, but yeah, you should watch it beforehand. Pay attention all the details. Pay attention whether it can be good for your learners, or maybe they have some language that not appropriate for your learners, or some, how to say, some bad language, I can say. That's why it's very important to watch several times what you are taking, what you want to show to your students. Okay, so then you need to list the following information. You need to say there what's the age of your students in your lesson plan. But it's not lesson plan, you just write down there that you are taking this, for example, English audio. Then you will write there my students are, for example, 20 years old, 22 years old, or maybe 6 years old pupils. And you need to say their language proficiency, list the title of the speakers or characters of the listening, and discuss why you think this listening would be appropriate for your learners. Because once you choose this scene or this audio video clip, then you need to create a lesson plan in the next weeks. That's why it's very important that you need to choose something which is very appropriate and that you will use after. And yeah, it's there also you can see about listening strategies for learners. So there can be different strategies. For example, request for clarification. Yeah, for example, you can ask your students what they didn't understand, or you can request for elaboration. They can wait to seek a clarification by you, yes? Or you can, for example, slow things down, means you can slow the listening, or you can, how to say, pause several times, ask them are they understanding, or maybe you just pause to clarify, to do like clarification, to ask question about that part of the listening. That makes listening much more easier. And note taking, they talk about Cornell method. Cornell method means they can do in their notebooks as well. For example, you ask them to divide their notebooks, and while listening the listening audio, they may take notes, and on the right side they can write questions that they didn't understand, or question about the listening, and at the bottom they can write down the summary of the listening. So once they finish listening, you just ask them to write down what they understood, just summary about the listening. That this kind of method also can help. That's why note taking is very important in listening, right? So listening strategies for teachers. It can be visual cue cards. You can show, for example, the things that they are listening, or for example, any vocabulary. You can show like physical image of the word, yes? Once they listen and once they see what is they are listening, it may be it may stay retained in their mind longer than they don't see it. And in listening strategies, they also put body language. So Yeah, for example, teachers, when you are talking, your students are listening. So it's more better you use your body language and warm language as well, like to make things conversational, like asking sometimes questions whether they understood or not, or just make the environment more conversational, not just lecturing them or just like if we say about 80-20 rule, if you just use 80% of your lesson lecturing and 20% just doing practice, it would be very maybe boring, or how to say, it would not be sometimes effective. That's why it's more important that you keep more practice than lecturing. And emphasize certain words means, for example, while you are speaking, you can emphasize some words that may be new to them, new vocabulary. Yes. Break things down means, for example, how to say, while they're listening, you can help them to for instance, they're listening some audio, and then, as we said before, you can stop it. You can break that, and you can speak for sometimes about the listening, about the characters, about what they are talking for a while, and then you can go on again. Ask them questions you know already, and invite them to ask question. Yeah, you can ask them, for example, you can ask them, please ask question what you understood about the listening or what you didn't understand. And there are top-down strategies and bottom-up strategies in listening. So what do you think about these strategies? Top-down strategies and bottom-up strategies. Have you ever heard about these strategies? Okay, bottom-up strategies, let's say about first top-down. Yes, top-down strategies is more casual, less intensive. For example, to seek for the meaning of the single word, you can ask them to search for a gist of an idea, to connect all the previous knowledge of the learner to a particular language activity. Yeah, but bottom-up strategies refer to paying close attention to gestures, tone, particular features of this or speaker's attitude. You can ask them to pay attention to notice the details, to notice correct accent, and others. So you see these all 9 strategies that make listening like easier for students if teachers use these strategies in the listening. And then assignment here, they ask you to create a lesson plan that follows the template attached. You already have the template, yeah? So you need to use both intensive and extensive listening techniques. And you need to write down the lesson plan for 50 to 60 minutes. And you need to save this for future, because you will edit it with speaking and with pronunciation. In the week 3, there is speaking. What makes speaking hard? So again, if you let me, can I ask you what makes speaking hard for students? What do you think?
Out of these ideas, or according to our ideas?
Yeah, anything you can tell, maybe according to these ideas or your own ideas.
No, actually, there are some icebreakers which help students, first of all, speak, because like personal factors like shyness or lack of vocabulary doesn't permit the learners to speak fluently. Another idea is, again, multi-level classrooms, like somebody can speak very well, and as it's written here, class size. It depends on the learners actually, but I think anybody, it doesn't matter, is it an adult learner or teenage learner, so anybody feels more comfortable if the class is smaller. Why? Because they feel shy if they mispronounce something or if they say something incorrect, because the elder you are, the more confident you become in the matters of the speech. The younger you are, the less you maybe understand your mistakes, and that's why they say that the earlier you start learning language, the better for you, because when kids make mistakes, it's okay that the teacher corrects them and so on. When adults make mistakes and when teenagers make mistakes, they feel ashamed, and they are afraid of telling something because they're afraid that, for example, teenagers are afraid that others are going to laugh at them. If we speak about adult learners, they feel more comfortable if somebody speaks, and they speak only when they are 100% sure that they know it correct. So that's why, again, it depends on the multi-level classrooms as well. Also, it depends on the lesson time, time management, I would say, because if the lesson is short, and as we said about the class, that class is very big, so there isn't enough time for all the learners to be asked by a teacher, for example, and for all the learners to answer and express their ideas. Also, there are some learners who are like leaders, and they always want to answer, and there are learners who feel shy and they are not sure whether they want to express their ideas or not. They're shy, they're modest or timid, maybe they know, but as they're not going to show off, or they're afraid of telling something, so they keep silence again in big classes, I think.
Yeah, that's true. Most of the time, sometimes they just prefer to keep silent, yes, than speaking or get
they
shy.
develop their listening skills, but that's not enough. I mean, if we want a real result, as we know that listening and reading are perceptive skills, and speaking and writing, they are productive skills. And if we want to see product of our learners, we must hear them speaking, and we must see their writing skills as well. So that's why I think that for learners, they are the most difficult. And that's why even if we compare in IELTS results, usually most students, they get lower scores for speaking and lower scores for writing. As far as I know, and according to my personal experience of my students, I would say that the highest scores they get for listening and for reading, and the lowest scores they usually get for speaking and writing. But again, it depends on the personal perception as well, and it depends on the on personal abilities, because we have different learners, like visuals and audios and kinesthetic learners. So this also influences them, because if he's an audio learner, so he can get listening better, and if he has, usually it's like multiple intelligence, but mostly somebody can have more problems with listening, somebody can have more problems with speaking. Again, it depends on the personal perception, I think, and personal character.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, especially about IELTS scores, about productive skills. Yeah, as for me, I also had several times IELTS exam, but still, when it comes to writing and speaking in productive skill, I have got lower, how to say, band than the other skills, which are listening and reading. That's why we need to pay attention while we are teaching to productive skills of how to develop productive skills of learners. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, it's here. We already talked about class size. Yeah, it's very important. A 5-hour problem, it's telling us about how many hours, for example, you have English classes in your in 1 week. Yeah, maybe it can be 5 hours in a week, or especially in primary schools, it's like 2 hours. Yeah, and in secondary school, we have got 3 hours English in 1 week. That's why it's not enough that they can fully, like, how to say, expose all the skills and learn all the skills, or be good at all the skills. That's why it's talking about shortage of class time and student talk time. Even sometimes we give our students time to speak. It can, for example, you give just one question. Let's say there are 10 students, you give one question, so then you ask one by one. For example, they may talk 2-3 minutes, and you ask all of them while you finish. It means you have already maybe 20 minutes. You spend 20 minutes but the one student talked just 2 minutes. You see, that's why student talk time, you can increase student talk time by giving them more pair work or group work when they speak with each other, not just asking one by one question. And affective factors means here positive or negative emotions that may influence the speaker. For example, sometimes students may have got bad mood, they don't want to speak, or they had some I don't know, some stress, some difficulties, some problems. That's why affective factors may influence the speaking of the students. And interlocutor effect means the effect of the speaker, effect of the for example, as effect of the teachers, we can say, in the lesson. So if you are more nervous, you can make your students nervous. Or if you are very relaxed, or they can be more relaxed as well. And if you are, for example, very formal, they can also keep formal. I mean, people that you are talking with. And interaction effect means how you change, for example, how and what you say because of real-time questions. For example, your students asking some questions. So how your effect in this, and how you can change, or how can you say the answer of that question. So yeah, here we also need to talk about 4 types of speaking that often confuse learners. So, and we have so many other slides, so I don't know, we can do them all today, but we need to finish, and that's why we need to be much faster. So imitative speaking, it is like to listen carefully and simply imitate a speaker. So you can sometimes ask your students to imitate some TED Talks. Yeah, it can be very difficult, but difficult things sometimes make it more interesting when the results are better. And intensive speaking means speakers are required to produce short segments of language that demonstrate grammatical, lexical, and phonological accuracy. So you pay attention to these all accuracies while, for example, your students speaking. And responsive speaking, it requires students to respond a question. As we said already, for example, in IELTS or in TOEFL, you ask, or the examiner asks the question, you answer the question. It is like responsive speaking. And interactive speaking means like free speaking in a more naturalistic way. for example, turn taking, or like you can ask your students to speak in the group. Yeah, it is more interactive because they speak more freely. So assignment in this week, they ask you to delete some activities in your lesson plans that you already did for your listening, and then add some listening and speaking activities. Like, again, they ask you to maybe to add some new listening and to add some speaking activities as well. So you don't need to create a new lesson plan for this week as well. You just need to edit your lesson. And speaking strategies for learners, they said about preparation and practice. So the more you prepare something and the more you practice, the better your speaking may become, yeah. And imagery and physical response. And they said use others. So you can use imagery response, for example, showing them, yeah, or and other strategies. So, for example, Mind Palace. Mind Palace means to trigger the how to say, to trigger the imagery in the mind of your students. How you do it? For example, you can ask them to associate their speaking with some imagery. And this imagery should be like, how to say, as much longer as the speaking itself. So when they think about it, they can speak about it fluently without any pause, because they already put this speaking in their mind with imagery. So they can be also other strategies in speaking. So if you know any strategy, yeah, you can say about this. Okay, so speaking strategies for teachers. So they can be also some speaking strategies. So ask questions of all kinds. So you can sometimes ask like some personal question, but not too personal. Maybe some questions that their hobbies, their interests, what they listen, what they watch these days. Yeah, it can make the situation more like maybe informal, but they become more like close to you. And use authentic language, means the language that they use in their real life, not some language. For example, if you talk about, I don't know, about like what to say, about cosmos maybe, or about some very technical things, it can be difficult for them. That's why teachers, I think, should use more authentic language, and an environment that invites students to speak. Yeah, as a teacher, we need to create an environment that students want to speak. If you always like tell them, give them feedback, like when they have mistakes, or like immediate feedback, yeah, they may sometimes become very shy, or they can become close, like they don't want to speak. And you need also to give critical and constructive feedback, which is fair, not just, for example, even they are doing very bad. If you say, oh, you're doing bad, good, maybe it can be for some period, it can be okay, but some, if it is not fair, so it may influence the students. That's why it should be, I think, more constructive and fair. And give them impossible tasks, they say. Especially Dr. Dixon said that sometimes he gives very impossible tasks for them. For example, he said that I give them TED Talks, like maybe 10 minutes long, very big talk. And he asks them to prepare this task for in 1 week. So, and he said they prepared, even it was very difficult that they prepared. You see, sometimes it may also work. And assessment, no, it should be assignment actually. Yeah, assignment for this week. They ask you to add some techniques and strategies in speaking, especially. They ask you to edit 50-60 minute lesson plan template with a few new speaking techniques and strategies, and by deleting some listening activities. So again, you have the one lesson plan that you created for this course, yeah? So you edit that one. You don't need to create the new one again, I'm saying, yeah? So, and week 5, pronunciation. So we already talked some difficulties that students may have in pronunciation, yeah? So what makes pronunciation hard, yeah, participants? So, okay, yeah, accent can make it hard. So there are different kind of accents. Age means, for example, when you become more older and older, the language become like difficult to achieve the highest level. Yes, that's why age is very important. If students are younger, they learn the language, and even they have some difficulties. I mean, even they have mistakes. Anyway, they learn it much better than the learner who begin it in their adultness. Yeah. And first language, yeah, for sure. First language is very important issue in making, sometimes it makes pronunciation very hard. So, because every of us, we have accent and our first language.
Can I add one idea about the age?
Yeah, please.
Because I deal with different learners, and as I teach both to very young learners, like kids starting from 3 years old until 7, and adults as well. So I can say that I have noticed, it's like my observation in teaching, I can say that for very young learners and for young learners, it's easier to pronounce something, and they don't think about anything. They just can find some similarities with, in their first language, in the native language, and in the language they they speak. For example, as you know, in our schools and kindergartens, we have learners of, we have English learners who can speak mostly 3 languages, or at least 2, like Russian and Uzbek, Russian and Tajik, for example. And they usually, only one thing they do, they compare the native language and, for example, English. When we study some words, like, for example, family members, and when I explain and I tell them that father in English will be papa, and I say that there is second word like daddy, they parallelly understand that dada is in Uzbek and in Tajik, and they have their own comparison, and even at this age they understand the similarities of the language. So that's why first language acquisition is very important here. If we speak about adult learners, so of course they can notice these similar things, but adult learners start thinking about the language in more details. And if, for example, I tell the kids that you have to say, they ask me how to say this word and what is this in English, and I tell them how it will be in English, they don't ask me questions why it must be like this. I just say that, so this is, for example, this in English, and they just repeat after me, and they learn this word, and that's it. They don't have any other questions. Why? Because they're like blank sheet of paper, and they don't have any previous knowledge. They only can compare with the native language. As for adult learners, it's more difficult for them because they have their own experience and they know something in their native language. And when they tell them, they ask more questions like, why it must be like this in English, or why it's like this. Like, for example, if I tell the kids that butterfly is a butterfly, they don't ask me why it is butter and fly. But if I tell, or for example, if I tell the kids that fly has two meanings, like fly as an insect and fly as a verb, so again, they don't have any questions. They just remember this as it must be. As for adults, they ask me why it must be butterfly. Is it like flying butter or something like this? So you see, here for adult learners, it's like there must be some kind of explanation. Maybe that's why for them it's more difficult to learn the language, because they ask more questions about the origin of the language and so on.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. That's the issue that most of the time as we are teachers come across, right? And yeah, in pronunciation, for example, the rest six things which are intonation can make it hard, sometimes stress, sometimes reduce spoken language, sometimes native speakers reduce their spoken language instead of saying especially they reduce ng at the end, yes. Instead of saying something, they say something, yes, something. Like, I mean, sometimes they reduce n and g or m. So, and lexical elision means dropping some, like saying something very fast and dropping. For example, even in this word, we are dropping e, yes, lexical elision. And perception of accent also very important, and how we think about accent, yeah, and prestige accent means some accents, especially Dr. Shane said that Irish accent is very prestige accent. I don't know why, but he said Irish accent is very prestige in the world, he said even. Okay, strategies for teaching pronunciation. So it can be, for example, what students struggle with the most. So you need to, how to say, maybe research, or maybe you just need to find what they struggle with, what kind of words or idioms or other things. And you need to compare, identify and produce, means you need to take some minimal pairs, for example, which rich, yes, which family is rich. So you need to compare and identify which words are there, and then you need to produce it appropriately and separately. And also they said about connected and reduced speech and spot correction. It can be, and he said spot correction should be more individually, and also you need to repeat these words if they have got a difficulty, and you can also bring a phonemic chart and put in the classroom so they can see phonemic chart, and when they have difficulties or mistakes, then you can show them. And monitoring is also very important because once they monitor about their pronunciation, it can be how to say, more better for them to produce these words afterwards. For example, if they have got anything like mistake, then they know how to pronounce it after. That's why in monitoring that you can say them record themselves, yeah. They can record themselves saying some speech, yeah. Then they can compare it with the speech of native speakers, how they do it. That's why monitoring also very important in teaching pronunciation. And assignment here, they ask you to put some pronunciation moment or discussion in the lesson plan that you have already created. So you need to incorporate one just small pronunciation lesson or discussion in the lesson plans that you are doing. So you don't need to create a new lesson plan. So you just edit one activity. You just delete one activity, maybe one speaking activity or one listening activity, and then put one pronunciation activity for the lesson plan, and that's all. So at the end of this course, we are talking about course number 6, yeah? They ask you to do micro teaching, so you need again to pick the moment that you want to teach, and then you record yourself. Before recording, you can practice several times and smile while you are teaching. It is very effective. Even you don't have students, you can smile and you can pretend that you have students. If you are currently teaching, feel free to record your own class and be sure the video and the audio clear and easy to understand. And be careful with your time, because they ask you to have the lesson micro teaching less than 10 minutes and more than 6 minutes. So that's why it's very important to keep the time. And in the 7th course, technology enriched teaching, they are most of the time focused on how effectively you integrate technology in your teaching. So we have got different technologies these days. So, but it's our how to say, not responsibility, but it's our way how we like effectively integrate the technology. Do we bring the technology and then we put the objective, or we put first of all objectives and then we bring some technology? That's why they talk about how you do it in your teaching. So they said that technology, in the big one, they said about technology avoidance. So teachers may feel sometimes overwhelmed with technology because there are so many technologies nowadays, yeah. By technologies, they are saying about some, for example, Quizlet, some polleverywhere.com, nearpod.com, maybe quizzes, yeah, Kahoot and other technologies. Yet you see, there are so many nowadays, but and teachers sometimes think that it's waste of time and money, because some of the applications ask you to pay for the some small amount of fee, yes, and sometimes technology might be unavailable. For example, they don't have computers, or they don't have the projector how to show it to their students. That's why they avoid, teachers sometimes avoid technology. And technology alignment, they said about curriculum and technology must be aligned. For example, if they are different, then if they don't match, you cannot have like better, good result at the end. And you should control technology, otherwise it controls you. And it means if you just give technology to your students, let's imagine if you just give all of them computer, just write down or do whatever you do, or go to the internet and find anything that they want to do, it can be very, how to say, have bad effect in your lesson. And that's why it said that technology is not a babysitter. And also balance happens when your outcomes driven, I should say. Okay, and so sorry, I'm just doing some a little bit more quick because we already here 1 hour 41 minutes, and we should finish today. That's why I'm a little bit more faster now. And you need to keep the technology as simple as possible. And first of all, know your objectives and then choose a technology that fits these objectives. Don't first of all choose the technology and then do your objective. It should be vice versa. And assignments, they ask you here, first of all, technology evaluation form. You can see there already, there is one technology evaluation form. So you need to change it. You need to, for example, what do you want? What kind of technology you want? You need to write there. First, think about your objective, first of all, and then what you want your learners to achieve. And then after you made all your decision, you need to find technology to support what you teach. So as for me, I choose nearpod.com. I didn't know about it, but I learned it from Mentor Hub. We had one webinar, and I learned there. So I just take this technology and I put it in technology evaluation form. So they said there are 9 categories of technology. So once you are learning about them in the TESOL course, you will understand all of them in detail. But here I just put the name of the technologies. So for example, it can be word processing applications. For example, the Microsoft Word, yes, it is like a word processing application, or the applications that create some, for example, how to say, word clouds, yes. This can be under the word processing application. And the second one is organizing and brainstorming softwares. So it can be, for example, the technologies that organize some clusters, brainstorms, Venn diagrams, visual supports, and others. For example, it can be web inspiration, smart tools, and others. They gave this as an example. And the third one is data collection and analysis. For example, polleverywhere.com or classroom clickers, yeah? They can help you to collect the data that you want. And the fourth one is communication and collaboration software. It can be Type with Me, FaceTime, or even Facebook, Twitter, Skype. All LMS can be communication and collaboration software. And the fifth one is instructional media. Is created for academic environments, such as for video software. For example, TED Talks. If you heard about Khan Academy, it can be also under this, instructional media and others. And the sixth one is multimedia creation tools. So it can be PowerPoint, Prezi.com, iMovie, or some blogs, vlogs, VoiceThread, Keynote. Yes, these kind of technologies can be like multimedia creation tools. And 7 is instructional interactives. It can be, for example, it allows students to play games, especially Duolingo. I think many of you know about Duolingo, yes. So, or it can be English Central, Voxy, Mathboard, and others. And the 8th one is database and reference resources. That can be online dictionaries, encyclopedias, RubyStar, rubrics for all kinds you can find there. And the last one is kinesthetic technology. So it allows students to move about and often considers the user's physical location and movement. For example, GPS, yes. Okay, so assignment here, they ask you again to look at for your technology evaluation form, and if you like it, you just use it. If you didn't like it, you can, if you, for example, if you have something different, you can add here and submit it, and your peers evaluate your technology form. And also they talk here about digital nativity. So digital nativity means if your students are very good at technologies, if they are very digital native, it can be that they are very familiar, a person who is simply born with technology. And digital foreigner means a person who has got lack of knowledge or unfamiliar about technologies. That's why you need to pay attention your students whether they are a digital foreigner and digital native. That's why if, for example, they are digital foreigner, you can pair your students according to their skills, give them some tutorials, provide them more guided activities with the technologies that you are going to use. Or if they are very good at technology, you need to limit the distraction and set clear boundaries for students and use Pomodoro technique. Pomodoro technique means you can set timer for 25 minutes, for example. You ask them to stay focused. Okay, so in the assignments, they ask you, please give a brief description of how you would like to use the technologies that you selected. So you just write there about the technologies that you chose. Then you say the challenges that students might have in working with this tool, and how would you deal with multi-levels. So you will write about this there. And in the work week 4, they ask you, okay, I think we have more than 10 slides. I'm sorry, but I need to, I'm just rushing, but if you have any question, you can ask me. And we are just 5 here, yeah? So transforming the classroom using technology. They introduce here with 2 acronyms, TPAC and SUMMER. So TPAC means content knowledge, pedagogical knowledge, and technological knowledge. So, and SUMMER means substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. So, and there they explained each of them. And for example, content knowledge is knowing what to teach. A language teacher should know what to teach, yes, properly. And pedagogical knowledge means how to teach. And technological knowledge, this refers to understand technology and how it can be applied to specific situation. How you can bring the technology and you can connect this content knowledge, pedagogical knowledge, and technological knowledge in bringing new technology in your lesson. And by SUMMER means substitution. So substitution means replacing a traditional learning task. For example, you can give them, instead of paper-based textbook, you can give them online textbooks. Yeah, it's just substitution. Augmentation means like it's also similar to substitution, but there are some minor change to the function of the resource. For example, in the resource, you can add dictionaries, image, diagrams, charts, additional media resources. I mean, in online, yes, online textbooks, for example. It is augmentation. And the third one is modification. It is a significant task to redesign. So here we are looking to change the learning task because of the possibilities of the technology provides. So what you do here is that instead of just asking questions from online textbooks, we may give students a list of media resources that they can get information. So for example, if you're talking about United States, yeah, for example, you can give them some extra links, extra information that they can also read by themselves. So they can also how to say, find, analyze the different kind of information that they read and that you give, they compare together. And the last one is redefinition means in this stage we are using the technology to create a new learning task that would be impossible without the use of technology. For example, you can ask them create their own video. Yes, it is very different because in this stage they need to use technology, and for example they need to record themselves. Even there are some applications that you can ask them to record their speech and to put there and to ask others how they can answer to this appropriate question. So assignment here, they ask you which stage would your technology tool fall into. So they ask you which the stage that we already talked. They ask you which stage is the technology that you, for example, you took Kahoot, yes, Kahoot. So they ask you which stage from TPEC and summer can be, let's say, fall into, and they ask you, please write down like brief description of how you want to use it. And you need to say it because your peer reviewer will read this as well. And look at the other stage of summer and describe another way to you could use the technology tool in different states. So here you just write down a kind of essay or just information that how you want to use your technology and what kind of I'll say where it falls. Okay. So in week 5, so they ask, talking about 4 tips of evaluating technology. So they said about remember your objective, because your objective is more important than technology. Then you bring the technology, and remember summer, which is substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. And find early adapters means, for example, in your colleagues, in your faculty, maybe there are some teachers, they are very good at like bringing new technology in your classroom. So you can ask them how they are using them. Yeah, you need to become very curious about technologies, and you can incorporate them in your teaching. And assignments, they are asking here, you need to fill out lesson plan with your activities for 50-60 minute lesson. As for me, I created one lesson plan about London. So then I created some activities on neapod.com, and then I put listening and speaking activities on the using this technology. Okay, lastly, we come here, capstone project, yeah. I wanted to make it shorter, but it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just 5 slides more. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so in the last, capstone project 2, what they ask you, so you need to do some kind of things in order to get 150-hour TESOL certificate from us. So what you need to do? So you need to do not many, but some assignments that you already done maybe. For example, they ask you to edit reading writing lesson plan. If you remember, you already did one reading writing lesson plan for your course number 5, yes? So you need to micro teach it this time, but you need to update your lesson plan, not just the same, but you need to bring one technology in your lesson plan. Then you need to do micro teaching, like to take one video again and update your lesson plan. And the second one, they ask you to create a new technology enriched reading writing lesson plan. So they ask you in this part, they ask you one lesson that is very new, very fresh. Maybe you can do the continuation of your reading. If your reading is bigger, then you can use in the second day, you can use the new reading with new technology. And you will create one more lesson plan here. And the third one is they ask you to edit listening speaking lesson plan that you did course number 6. You will update it, you will include technology, and you can, again, you need to record the video and update lesson plan. And the fourth one, they ask you to create new technology enriched listening speaking lesson plan. So you can create one new one, and with micro teaching. So you see, you have already four videos, 4 micro teaching. And then you need to create grammar lesson plan. If you remember, we did grammar, we put just one grammar moment, but here you need fully like take one grammar lesson and micro teach it, okay? And then you need to create a pronunciation lesson plan. So if you remember, we did just one lesson, pronunciation moment in our lesson plan, but here they ask you just full lesson plan for pronunciation. And then teaching tip, we already talked about it. Teaching tip means you can write down one page teaching tips that you want to give to teachers. It can be activity, it can be like websites, a list of websites. So, and you need to create your teaching philosophy, a teaching portfolio here. So in teaching portfolio, what you need to do to have, so you need to have teaching philosophy. If you remember, we already talked about it. It can be like up to 2 pages long. So you need to combine your teaching purpose, style, and teaching techniques in one document. And 10 complete lesson plans. 10 complete lesson plans means these 6 lesson plans plus 4 lessons, 4 micro teaching that you did in the, let me explain, I will explain further, okay? You need to be more clear. So you will have 2 toolbox activities, which means teaching tips, and optional can be from capstone project 1, you can add 1 week lesson plan. And 6 videos, it is, we already talked about this updated lesson plans, and plus 4 lesson plans from 4 lessons plus videos. Where it is? It is in capstone project 1, you had 1 lesson plan with micro teaching. That one you will take, and in the 5th course you had second language reading, writing, grammar. Yes, you have the original one, the original lesson plan. You will take this one with micro teaching, and you will take the listening, speaking, pronunciation lesson plan, which is original from the 7th course without update, because with update you will already took it. So, and the 10th one, it is technology enriched teaching. It is the lesson plan which was the original of the course number 7. So optional can be 1 week lesson plan. Again, it's written here. And last but not the least, when you finish everything, you need to, if you want to get your certificate, you need to click this link, and this link is there already. So once you finish it, you need to write there which date you finished your course. You need to write because there is one form that you need to fill the form, and you need to write your how to say your email, because the email is from this one, Global Launch ASU Edu. So once your certificate is ready, they will send you certificate from this email. pay attention that the email can go to your junk folder or somewhere spam folder, yes? So you need to check them. And if you need the copy, hard copy, paper copy of your certificate, you need to pay $50. But they said that because of quarantine, nowadays they are not sending this, but if you just, how to say, if you want, you can request them. Then after quarantine, they will send you in 4-6 weeks. So totally, once your certificate, your e-version of your certificate is ready, it takes like maybe up to 10 days or maybe 2 weeks. So you need to be very patient here. So they will send you with congratulations, with your achievement, and plus their feedback, the expert feedback. So you can read the feedback and pay attention what's your shortage in teaching, what's your maybe progress in teaching, okay? So yeah, so we finished. Thank you for your attention. So it was all about 4 courses from course number 5, 6, 7, and capstone project 2. So if you are still doing, or if you are, for example, on the stage of 3s or 4s or 5, I don't know. I wish you good luck, and I hope that you will gain your certificate, you will achieve your aims. Yeah, it's not that difficult. It is, I think it is achievable. So it just, you need to put some effort on what you do, and that's all. If you have any, if you want anything to say, yeah, you're welcome. Then we will finish. Thank you, Gulchera, as well, for your passion. Thank you for staying. Okay, thank you.